What's up, everybody? It's Leo Ray's Rayon,
And I'm Josh Glazer.
and today we are coming out with a video that has kind of been in our minds for a minute, but we kind of felt like with the resurgence of the Deshaun Watson trade talks, that it would be nice to put out a video on it, man. So as we all know, there has been a lot of drama surrounding Watson for the past few months. With the alleged sexual assaults and all this stuff. And yeah, and Josh, I mean, you know this. I mean, we've talked even before all this stuff. I thought that once he requested a trade, if it was up to me, I mean, I understand how valuable a franchise quarterback is, and I understand they don't necessarily come around every draft and all this stuff. But I just felt like with how bad he played or the team played with an MVP caliber quarterback, it didn't really make sense to keep him because
hmm
we just had so many issues, and obviously we just were the third worst team record wise with the MVP quarterback, which is kind of like unheard of.
Yeah, it's it's an interesting situation because you never want to give up on an elite asset like
Mhm.
Deshaun Watson is. Like it's so hard to find a guy like that. Like if you were the Texans, you would trade 3 or 4 first round picks just to get a chance to draft him,
Right, right, right.
knowing what he is now.
Hmm.
Right. I mean, y'all got lucky because he just kind of fell to y'all when you're
Hmm.
doing it. But so like when you spin that around, I know you can't really look at it like that, but Um, that's what I think made it so hard for them to trade right away when he requested the trade. The new GM was like, "My first big move is going to be to trade our star quarterback." Yeah, no thanks.
Hmm.
I kind of get that, but it went back and kind of like,
You good?
yeah, I'm good. Oh, am I glitching?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh,
It kind of glitched out. Yeah, man. Yeah, I agree, and that's something I really didn't think about. Like that's something. There was probably a lot of who knows how Nick Casario actually felt about the whole situation. Because I mean, maybe part of him did want to trade Watson, but like you said, man, I mean, that's a hell of a first move to trade. Watson, especially before all of the accusations came out. You know what I mean? Because like he was pretty much like a golden child of Houston at that point. This was his city, and I mean, but one thing that I think is interesting is that I've seen Adam Schefter reports as late of like last week, man. I mean, talking about the Eagles still possibly being interested, and even the Dolphins, which um, I thought that if they were going to trade him, it would have been for this draft because this was such a crazy draft. And I mean, they had so many people that had tons of assets, in this draft, from, Miami to the Dolphins to, the Jets possibly, I mean, we saw what, the 49ers gave up to get, Trey Lance. It's hard for me to believe they wouldn't give up similar things for Watson, obviously.
more than that, probably. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I think like it's an interesting time. If they decide to trade him now, it would be a very, very interesting time to do it because I would assume that his value is lower now than it was then, and you know,
yeah.
uh, I don't know. It just seems kind of, and then I mean, the next draft, like, I mean, I like Sam Howell. I like what's the kid from Liberty's name? I think his last name is Willis. I can't really
Yeah,
remember.
I think it's Malik Willis.
Malik Willis, yeah, yeah. I like him. I like him. But I mean, like, you know, it's a year away. I think Kayvon Thibodeau is great. We are. I think I don't know if we really talked about the corners and stuff from the draft coming out, but I think Stingley will be a great cornerback. It just seems like a very interesting time to trade him right now. You know what I mean? Um, do I still think that we should trade him? Honestly, at this point, bro, like I think we should. It's interesting because I know we talked about this, but I think at this point, I think we should just ride out with him because I mean, who knows if he's gonna play this year? You know what I mean? If he's gonna play this year, if he doesn't play this year, or if he plays this year, we're still going to probably be a pretty bad team. We'll obviously win some games that we probably shouldn't win with him. But I mean, like, at this point, man, if he doesn't play this year, just, let's just ride out, have a tough, just survive this season. You know what I'm saying? Have a number one draft pick where we don't necessarily have to get a quarterback. Let's say a team loves, Malik Willis or the kid from Arizona State or Sam Howell, and we have Watson at number one. I mean, and we have the number one overall pick. Trade in and get more assets, you know what I mean? Or we just take, depending on how you feel about Thibodeau. I haven't really watched him too much, but I mean, if you think he's a Chase Young type of guy, get him. You know what I mean? If you think Derek Stingley is there and we need a cornerback, maybe get him, maybe trade back and get him. I don't know, man, but I think that right now, I think that if we don't, if I don't, I'm not that high on this draft class yet, as much as I was on this one right here. You know what I mean? So, what are you thinking, Josh? What do you think about all that, man?
Yeah, I think at this point, you're not going to get, unless someone comes with you like just a desperate ass offer, you're not going to really have a chance to get what you want out of it. I think you're right. You're probably better off waiting, but the waiting thing is more of, it gives the Texans clarity because then you know what kind of picks you're trading for in 2022. Now, if you trade them, you're just kind of like guessing how a team's going to do. You'll know when you get around the corner. And who knows, to say Deshaun is suspended for half the year or 3/4 of the year, but then he comes back at the end just to show that he's healthy going into free agency or whatever for his case or whatever. I don't know if that's possible, or I don't know how bad the relationship is at this point. But if you get to that point and he plays and then he's like, okay, maybe this team isn't as bad as I think. We got a I have a good vibe with this GM. Maybe he changes his mind too. And that's probably the best outcome of everything. Really, not trading him is the best thing to do, but it has to be where he wants to be there.
Yeah, yeah, and see, you brought up a whole nother point is that I forgot. I honestly forgot that he said he didn't want to play. Like he asked for a trade, but it kind of seemed like he would have held out. So who knows if he would want to, play with us in the end anyway. You know what I mean? I That's what makes the whole thing so bad is that like we could have just traded him and kind of just avoided all of this, allegations or not, you know what I'm saying? We could have just avoided all of this like shit. And I mean, we could have ended up, with multiple first rounders, you know what I'm saying? We could have, let's say we get our first couple, let's say we get our shit back from Miami, you know what I'm saying? Let's say we don't like Justin Fields or Trey Lance there with the number three. I'm talking about the number three pick before we traded it. Like, let's say we got before Miami traded their pick, our pick, which was our pick, back to to the 49ers. Let's say we get that number three pick back. You know what I'm saying? Let's say then, the 49ers come to us for the number three pick. Then we pick up way more assets. Then, there could have been so much things we could do. I think like at this point, man, they have to mend the relationship, do the best they can to, because man, there's like, I mean, shit, like, I mean, I don't know. I don't see the point in I don't think Sam Howell is better than, any of the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks in this year, and I think Sam
And
Howell's good.
you probably can't even look at it like that. I think what this also does is it gives the Texans an excuse to not just to completely suck this year and just to work on play as many young guys as possible, try to get as much info on how guys perform,
Yeah.
so you can move on with them and get a really good analysis on them.
Right, right.
So I think as bad as it is, it may actually be long term with where you're looking at the entire team. It may work out okay at the end.
I think so too, man, and ultimately too, I think so. I agree, man. I didn't think we had a chance. I thought that's what we should be doing anyway. So we'll see, man. I think that, like I always say, I think that this can be a good year. I think, I mean, not necessarily in wins, but we're gonna learn a lot. And like I said, I think that with this new GM and stuff, I think we will have a certain kind of toughness that we probably didn't have before, as I said, man. So yeah, bro, you have anything else you want to say about this whole situation?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's probably good that we get on record on how we view everything. Like
Mhm.
when initially everything was coming out, it was probably smart to just kind of wait and see if everything, if make sure it wasn't like a money grab of some sort.
Mhm.
And when it showed that it really wasn't, because there's too many people, and it's really hard to get all those people to lie for one thing. Like because knowing how easy it is to unravel a story if one person lies and the rest of it kind of falls apart. So it's the legitimacy is there. It's going to be interesting to see how the NFL rationalizes this in the future of because it's not something he's even apologized for at this point because it's still being litigated and everything. So it's still fresh. He still really hasn't made a statement. All he said was he didn't do it at the beginning, and then that obviously is bullshit. So it's
Mhm.
kind of hard to. You have to wait and see. So that's a whole nother factor that screws up the value and everything. Is how does that limit the amount of risk that another team wants to do if they want to trade for him? Like how does that affect his trade value? And I'm sure that's going to come to a point where that's going to lower what the Texans are going to get back, unfortunately. So in the end, Deshaun will probably get what he wants despite all this, but the Texans will get probably half the value that they should in the end game, unless it's completely something unravels with it or because just the PR nightmare and everything of how shitty it's just like it's not something you can just what he's accused of is just some nasty shit. And it's like get your shit together, basically.
I mean, bro, and like, let's be real. I mean, just like how Michael Vick, even though he changed his life, what I mean, after the whole dog ring shit, what I mean, there was, animal lovers everywhere he went, every game, what I'm saying? With there's probably still
Yeah,
people that are mad that he's
and
on.
rightfully so. And he's still working on it. And I think the one thing that helped him was actually he went to prison for it, and actually spent time
Yeah,
like that. Like unless Deshaun goes to prison, people are going to want a pound of flesh. If he just has to pay a bunch of money, people aren't going to see that as a resolution unless he comes out
yeah, yeah.
completely amidst everything and just says, I really screwed up. It was a lifestyle decision that I really was like some evil shit that I was doing. And unless he does that, it's a whole nother layer of it that we really won't know until everything kind of filters through.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, ultimately, yeah, I mean, who knows? And it's going to be interesting to see how many, like, how this takes turns. I mean, personally, like, I feel like, it doesn't really matter what I think, but I mean, like, at the end of the day, he's in a very, very messed up situation that could have been avoided, I mean,
Yeah, I mean
it's one, it's,
he's
it's one
basically being
thing.
accused of being a predator.
It's
And
one thing to have like a lot of sexual partners, which I think we know that
yeah,
a lot of athletes do have a
yeah,
lot
there's
of
nothing
sexual
wrong
partners.
if you're handling your business correctly. You're not
Yeah, but I mean, there's a way to do it. I feel like getting massage, doing it through like masseuses, probably wouldn't have been
massage therapists.
like
They
yeah,
don't like
yeah,
we call them masseuses.
massage therapists. Like what I'm saying, it
Yeah,
probably wasn't the best way. What I mean, but I mean, it happened, and if what I'm saying. We'll see. I mean, now the interesting thing I was gonna say is that I don't think there's been like any like it's all civil right now. There hasn't really been any criminal charges
yeah.
yet. But
I think that's probably all very strategic. Sorry to cut you off, but like I think the only reason they're doing that is because it's all he said, he said, she said, and that doesn't usually do great in criminal court, from what
mhm.
I've read. But and that could change if more evidence comes out. If the further they get in, then they want to. But usually, it seems like that's where it's going to be. That and that's also probably that's less optimal for Deshaun actually, because he would probably prefer it to be in criminal. It sounds crazy, but because it has a lower chance of succeeding as civil court does. So, and it would
Yeah.
kind of have more clarity for the situation if he still really believes that he's innocent.
I
I'm,
mean,
I'm gonna just take him from what he said.
Yeah,
so far.
I mean, ultimately too, like we can't really, we have people can have their own opinions and stuff, and I mean, we, you could feel like, but ultimately, whatever happens in court, what I'm saying, happens, and I mean, ultimately, it's just like talking about the OJ case. Like, I mean, did he do it or did he not do it? I mean, shit. At the end of the day, you can think what the hell you want to think, but shit, you know, he was found not guilty. You know what I mean? So shit, I don't know. But I mean, I think, man, taking it back to the football perspective, I don't know what the hell the Texans like this. This could possibly be one of the most. I mean, ultimately, we had a chance to start our rebuild one season prior to. You know what I'm saying? But we didn't. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you know, I personally, dude, I feel like that might be a good or a bad thing. You know what I mean? I think that obviously if he never plays a down for the Texans again, you know what I mean? I think that probably would have been a bad thing just because of how stacked this draft was.
Hmm.
But
At least at the top, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but at the end of the day, bro, like I feel like, I mean, if he ends up playing for us again, and hopefully he comes back the same person or better, hopefully better. You know what I mean? I think the sky's the limit, and but I mean, man, what a crazy situation, man. I mean,
And one other thing that popped in my head that you can kind of last thing I guess we can look at is after all the civil criminal stuff is kind of wrapping up and the NFL comes down and starts doing their investigation of it, right?
mhm.
How much culpability are they going to find in the Texans and that they didn't know this was happening,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
they didn't, that they maybe some of this happened in the Houston Texans facility. We don't know. We don't know any of these details. So that's a whole nother layer. I'm sorry, Texans fans, but
yeah,
that's
yeah.
a whole nother layer of things to look at. I know because I've been scarred from the whole back, completely different, but there's a
Well,
lot of different
well, man. I mean,
layers to it.
and honestly, bro, I'm glad that you brought that up because I wasn't even gonna go there. But, bro, I mean, there's a lot of Texans fans that truly believe that. You know what I'm saying? It was that this was something that the Texans did know. I mean, obviously, I know that the the lawyer that is representing the women apparently is a good friend of, what I'm saying, the McNair family and it's just kind
Yeah,
of,
I think he's like the caddy corner neighbor, right?
yeah,
He
yeah,
lives
yeah,
across
right,
the
right,
street,
right.
kind of.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, and then the fact that all this happened, it does look fishy, and I think that, but ultimately too, you know, I mean, shit. I mean, it's just fucked up, bro. It's just a whole fucked up
Yeah,
situation.
it's just
So,
it's
so
there's so many. We could spend an hour just talking about all the different layers about this, and it's
But
just it
I,
would.
I do think that it's hard for me to believe that, especially because I want to say that I heard that he used. I don't know if he took him to his house, but apparently he there. I heard that he did have, like, he borrowed some, or at least a massage table from the facility, and I think that with these allegations, bro, with so many women that came out against him, you know. I know, like, in court, obviously in court, I think only 20 women came forward enough to, like, give their information out. But, it was like 50 women at one point, I believe. It's hard for me to believe that they didn't know. And then I think when he asked for a trade, let's not act like, people can't have, like, people in power can't, have power trips and be like, oh, well, motherfucker, we know that you do this shit, so fuck it. You know what I mean? Let's not act like that can't happen. You know, does that make the Texans equally as messed up? I think so. Because, I mean, if that, it hypothetically,
Maybe even more
yeah,
because
yeah, yeah,
they
because
used it as a leverage tool rather than doing the moral
the
thing to
right
do.
thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Doing the right thing. And so, like,
obviously not more than Deshaun because he's obviously doing these fucking disgusting things and
but I mean, at the end of the day, bro, like, it's kind of like, I mean, anything else, bro. Like, if you know let's use it like this, bro. If you're like a college football team, we're kind of gonna go into some shit here. If you're a college, right? Let's say like I don't want to, you're a big D1, Big 12, SEC school. You know what I'm saying? You have a 5-star recruit coming. I mean, let's not act like they basically don't have, let's not act like some of these schools don't be damn near prostituting chicks to get these guys to come, to show them a good ass time and have a crazy ass party and all this crazy shit. That shit happens, Like,
Yeah.
I mean, shit, at that point, the school is just as messed up as, because now all this is hypothetical because there's no proof that the Texans did know, but I think that it's pretty damn obvious that they had. I mean, how the hell could you not know?
It's almost even worse if they didn't know because he's their number one asset on the whole fucking team. If they're not keeping track of him
Mm-hmm.
and what's going on with everything, and
Yeah,
that's the head of security's job is to make sure the quarterback stays out of shit
I
or
think
just the players stay out of shit.
I think more so than anything, bro. Like part of this is that players and everybody has to understand, bro. When you sign these big contracts that are binding to yourself and to the team that you sign to, you have to understand that what I'm saying. It will take a very special organization to like look at you like you're truly a human, like and value you as a person, value your happiness, because you know, shit, like let's, this, let's say that it wasn't even this. Let's say that he was a drug addict. Let's say they just leaked that shit instead of let's roles reverse. You have to understand that that shit can happen. I think with I think part of this is that the NFL owners don't want to see this shit turn into like the NBA where like star players are like, what, fuck this, I'm out. you know what I mean? I
Yeah,
think
and they'll handle it any way they can to keep them from getting to that point.
yeah. So man,
But talking about that though, the truth is the quarterback has more leverage than any NBA player. That a star quarterback has more leverage in their sport or in their team than
true.
a certain, even I guess LeBron and like the really top of the top. But
Yeah,
it's almost on the same level, and that's the
yeah.
thing that scares the shit out of them. And will that somehow factor into how the NFL punishes the Texans or not? Or that's the whole nother dark underbelly of this is, well,
Yeah,
how much of this punishment will be about what Deshaun happened, and then it's just where's the line crossed and what are they actually looking at and what aren't they looking at? Because if they start looking at really deeply into the Texans organization, I guarantee they're going to find a lot of shit just because
yeah.
it wasn't
And,
run well.
and honestly,
I'm
man,
sorry it got there.
maybe that's a good thing. Maybe having them do like a full fledged, investigation on the Texans organization will be a good thing because up to this point, I know, like, the team is like 20, about almost 20 years old. You know, it seems like even though we have had great seasons and stuff, it seems like there was always this underlying turmoil of like shit just not going how it was supposed to go. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that I hate to say this, bro, because like it kind of sounds like a hater, kind of sounds fucked up. But if Cal, I don't know how good of an owner Cal will be. I don't know, but I think that if that shit comes out and that it was that they were doing this shit and blah 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 blah, like I think that you know if it could lead us into possibly new leadership from the top to the bottom, and hopefully we get an owner who's passionate. What I'm saying, as like some of the great owners around the league, like Kraft, you know, the
The
same,
Bensons,
the
yeah.
Bensons, people like that. What I'm saying, hopefully, that's what we need. We need people that aren't just happy selling out. Because the truth is that the Texans have a great fan base. The Texans have a fan base that if the motherfuckers go 1-15, they're still gonna sell out. You know what I'm saying? And I think that the ownership and the leadership has taken advantage of the fans for this long, man. They've taken advantage of how loyal we have been, and I think that, man, it's time to to stop. You know what I mean? It's time to it's hard for me to be a Texans fan now because of how how the last 3 years have gone. I mean, like let's just look at this, man. I mean, and I'm sure I went through this on other videos. We had a good. I mean, that year, the year that we went to the that we almost went to the AFC Championship when we was playing Kansas City in Kansas City. We were, I think, 12-4, 11-5 that year. We almost had a bye and then we fucked it up. Um, we we weren't that good. I mean, we were a good team. Like, yeah, it was like the way that DeAndre Hopkins and Deshaun Watson played elevated us, and the defense was good enough they were good enough to hold people, and Watson and Hopkins were good enough to just like to win games. You know what I mean? And I think you know, but basically what I'm saying is that they like the top level of the top level talent of the Texans has always masked a lot of problems. You know what I'm saying? And I think let's just go back. To me, this shit started 2 years ago. It started when we blew the 24-point lead in goddamn 5 minutes. You know what I mean? You chose then they not that like to me that's clear. Like up to that point, Bill O'Brien has not done anything to solidify himself to keeping a job after doing some shit like that. You know what I mean? They chose not to fire him. They gave him more power. He immediately trades Hopkins for a bad for David Johnson and no damn picks. You know what I mean? And then and then we start off terrible. And then after they made the choice to trade Hopkins, then they fire him. So it's like, bro, like, well, shit. You could have just kept him, or you could have just traded him later and actually got a better trade if you was gonna trade him. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You let this man fuck up the organization, and then like so then you make a hire. You know what I mean? And then you sign Watson, which we knew we had to do, and then you had to sign Tunsil to that massive trade. Now we're here. You know what I'm saying? Now we're here with Watson with these allegations, and we have this coach that nobody really knows anything about. We're in a very tumultuous, we're in a bad situation. You know what I mean? I don't get the order of things, the order that they take. Just like it's not orderly. It doesn't seem functional at all. You know what I mean? So maybe that can be signs that other things are going on behind the scenes. And I think that with this, if it's one thing I will say, bro, with these allegations coming out at the time that they did, it does look weird. Hopefully, if the NFL does a thorough investigation on Watson, I think it's only right that they do a thorough investigation on the Texans, and hopefully it pushes the owners and anyone that has that's done bullshit out. You know what I mean? That's all I can say about that shit.
Yeah, hopefully it provides some clarity for everybody.
Yeah, yeah. All right, y'all. So I think we beat the shit out of that topic. We'll keep y'all updated. With more stuff.
Oh yeah, one thing. There's a lot of good information. If you're looking for good information, SAGA is doing a lot of Sports Illustrated is doing a lot of good reporting on this.
Yeah,
that's where I've been getting a lot of my sources. So that's the best place to read it if you want to know the details and how everything's really going and the stuff that we didn't really cover because it's kind of too much.
Yeah, it's too much, and we don't get paid enough for that yet. So,
yeah, not yet.
All right, y'all. You got anything else, Josh?
Nope.
All right, y'all. This is the Raised and Glazed podcast. Like, share, and sub. Texans fans, let's band together and help each other through this tough time. I'm Leo Ray's Rayon.
I'm Josh Glazer.
And we are out of here. Thank y'all.
See you later.